How do you observe someone without labeling them or judging them?
Ooh, how do you observe them without labeling or judging? Judging is really the key word, because judging is a negative experience or a negative energy or a negative way of being. It's not love. In many ways, we could say it's actually the opposite of love. Because when you love someone, you accept them unconditionally. There is no such thing as conditional love. That doesn't exist. All love is unconditional. It's just something that you feel and give. It doesn't matter. There's nothing else there. There's no conditions. So if you're in judgment, you can't be in love. And so it's really important to not judge in order to love. But how do you do it? Now, labeling is something different. Let's come back to that a little bit later. How do you observe someone without judging them? Here's how you do it. I've achieved it. I've done it. And I figured out how to do it. So I'm going to tell you from my own experience how I did it. So therefore you can do it. You have to first consciously decide you want to do that, which obviously, if you're the one who asked this question, you probably have decided you don't want to be judgmental. You want to observe them without judging. What an amazing decision you made. Congratulations to you. You're awesome. You're fantastic. If you haven't made that decision yet, steal the idea. Go ahead. Choose to be a non-judgmental person. Choose unconditional love. Choose acceptance. And boy, is life going to open its doors for you. Can you imagine someone telling you, you're the safest person I've ever been around? Yeah. Those are the kinds of results that you're going to get when you make yourself into an unconditionally loving being. People are going to say things to you like, I've never been around anyone as amazing as you. You're the best person I've ever met. One time, I was teaching a long series of health courses. And there was a nurse in the course whose husband and both parents were medical doctors. And I asked her if she wanted to share anything about my training. I knew, or at least I expected, she would say that my health training was better than any training she'd ever seen. No joke, no exaggeration. And she did say that. But before she said that, she got in front of the room and she said, this is the safest place I've ever been. I've never felt this safe in all my life. That was amazing. And then she said how great my courses were. I didn't expect her to say that. How did I make that happen? How did I cause this woman who was, over 60 years old, I assumed, feel that safe, safer than she felt with her family? How did we do that? It's not an accident. It was done on purpose. You can do it too. And those types of experiences will happen for you. It also applies to sex. I don't mean to go dirty, but sex isn't dirty, is it? Sex is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with talking about it. Isn't that the truth? If you can make someone feel safe, then you can have incredible intimacy, which means you can then have incredible sex. You can have sex that is so good that they'll say the very first time they ever have sex with you that was the best sex they've ever had, or they say they never liked sex till they had sex with you, or they'll say they didn't know sex could be that good. Because it's so much more than physical. When you can experience real intimacy, then you can have a spiritual sexual experience. All these types of things can happen as you choose non-judgment and to work on becoming a person who is not judgmental. It does take work. I gave you the first step. Let me give it to you again. Decide that that's who you're going to be. So what I did was I looked in the mirror every single day and said, who I am is unconditional love. I made that my singular focus for many years. Before that, I chose to be different things. And since then, I've chosen to be different things. But I ingrained being unconditional love so strongly that it is forever, permanently who I am. I'm just adding other things to that. So I decided every day, who I am is unconditional love. Every morning I looked in the mirror and I said, who I am is unconditional love, looking myself in the eye. I'd say it over and over sometimes. And then that's not all of it. I hope you don't think that's all you have to do. That's only the beginning. Then I observed myself to see any time that I felt judgment or that I had a judgmental thought. I tried my very best never to express any judgment. But the interesting thing about being judgmental or having judgment inside of you is you don't even have to say anything. People can feel it. And you might feel bad that you had a single judgmental thought that flew by. That wasn't you. It wasn't expression. It was not an expression of you. I just said 3 hours ago, who I am is unconditional love. And then all of a sudden, this feeling of judgment just flies through my mind. And the energy kind of resonated in my body, and the person felt it, and then they felt judged. And I didn't even say a thing. What do? You erase it. Those judgmental thoughts and feelings that just sort of bubble up, those are in your unconscious mind. They're in your programming. They're programmed into you like files on a computer. You got to erase them. How? The 7 steps to reprogramming yourself. Of course. I don't know if this is the first video of mine that you've seen, but if you've seen a lot of my videos, you know that I talk about the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself as a way to erase negative emotions permanently. Judgment is a negative emotion and negative thought. So you erase the judgment using the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself. That particular judgment will never come back again. But there's layers of them. Layers and layers of them. You might be judgmental about people smoking cigarettes, so you erase all that judgment. No longer do you feel judgment about people smoking cigarettes. And then that person starts guzzling a 5th of whiskey, and then you find a different judgment. Oh, you're judgmental about people drinking alcohol, so you erase that one. And then that same person starts chowing down on a bunch of steak, which is the biggest destruction of our planet's environment. Of anything that we do is eating meat. And you're like, oh my God, he's destroying the rainforest, and there's more judgment. So then you erase that judgment. Don't be a food Nazi, that's terrible. And you keep going. And then you see someone who's fat, and you erase that judgment. You see someone who's skinny, and you erase that judgment. You see someone who's tall, and you erase that judgment. You see someone who's short, and you erase that judgment. And you keep erasing all the judgments that bubble up. And you might find what I found. As I was erasing all the judgments that were bubbling up, I noticed that the judgments I had towards myself, I also had towards everyone else. And the judgments I had towards other people, I also had towards myself. Most of these judgments were not something I decided I wanted to have. They were like installed in me. Like I got all these viruses on my system, on the computer, and I got to delete them all. And that's what judgments are. They're just bad programs. And so you delete them one by one by one by one as they come up, until a day goes by where you're just being unconditional love all day. That's what happened. I get up in the morning, I say who I am is unconditional love, and I be unconditional love. I'm observing, I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm feeling. For any judgments, I didn't feel anything. I'm just being unconditional love all day long. And then a whole day goes by, and then another day, and then another day, and then, oh, I felt judgment there. I was judging that guy for being dirty. Okay, let's erase that one. Okay, now a whole week goes by. 2 weeks goes by. And then, oh, I was judgmental there. I just noticed that judgment. I was judgmental of that person being rude. Here I am teaching this 3-day workshop. I don't have to teach. I don't need the money. I'm good. I'm teaching because I want to help people. And I'm teaching this class, and this person is so mean for no reason, and I just want to go over there. Oh. I guess I better clear that one. But I cleared my judgment about most of that a long time ago. That's what you do as a teacher. You clear all your judgments about the students until they can be whoever they are and it doesn't bother you at all. And then what happens is they reflect back to you how safe they feel. You see, that's how my student, the nurse, was able to have that experience of feeling safer than she ever felt in her life. Because I had erased my judgments to the point that she literally was safe. It wasn't just an idea. It wasn't just a decision I made consciously. I had literally cleared it out of every cell of my body. I had removed the judgment all the way through my programming to the point that I was automatically, genuinely, and completely being unconditional love and non-judgment. And she felt that so strong, so did the whole audience, that she felt safe. Now, on top of that, during my live events, do different exercises with the audience to make them connect. I don't mean force them, I mean help them. Because everyone wants to be connected, And most people feel very alone. And they have all these walls between themselves and other humans. And so I melt them down, little by little, slowly. And as they go through more courses, they finally get to a place where they don't feel any of that ice between them and any of the other students. And they feel really connected. And I keep creating the space, the context of unconditional love in the room until she felt safer than she'd ever felt in her whole life. So I did it on purpose, consciously, and I worked really hard for years on erasing all the layers of judgment from the unconscious mind until I didn't have any more that would show up, that I could see. And then I started getting it reflected back to me from the audience. That was only one example from a student in a live workshop. Another example I had was when I was teaching about health and the body, and a student came up to me named Deborah, and she said, Arnoux, I've taken a lot of courses on health, but yours is the only one I've ever taken where I didn't feel judged for eating any way I wanted to eat, that I could eat anything I wanted and do whatever I wanted and it was okay, which allowed all the information to come in and really change my life. She lost like 20 pounds. And that was the student reflecting to me, the world reflecting to me, that I had become unconditionally loving on that subject and on many of them. And it showed up in every area of my life. Friends telling me, I feel like I could tell you anything. I just feel like no matter what I say, you're not going to judge me. Clients doing one-on-one consultations, that's so important. When you get into my coaching training and learning how to coach people, you're going to find out that learning how to create a safe space so that a person you're working with in a one-on-one situation can be fully open and vulnerable is powerful and crucial, necessary. And it even showed up like in my family, in my love life, people reflecting back to me, I just feel so safe with you. And of course, intimacy naturally follows with that. And after I got that experience and that reflected back to me in so many places, I started thinking about how else I could grow, because I had really grown into unconditional love to the point that it was permeating every cell of my being. So that's how you do it. You decide that you're going to do that. You focus on it every day. You look in the mirror. You might want to write it down. I had it on my phone to remind me every day who I am as unconditional love. And then all day long, paying attention to see when the unconscious programming is going to get triggered and I'm going to be judgmental of myself or others, because there's really no difference. Because if I'm judging me, I'm judging them. And if I'm judging them, I'm judging me. Erasing and erasing and erasing. I mean permanently erasing every single layer until you can't find one. And then you'll be that. I'll see you soon.